So good afternoon, everyone. Let's resume with our next session now, which is going to be an interesting one because in this session we are going to explore the role of school leaders as innovators, as solution providers for the future. And we have here Professor Peter Kent from ICP, who will be moderating this session. So Peter Kent, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to be with you this afternoon and to lead the session. Just to explain a little bit about who I am, as you've heard, my name is Peter Kent. I'm a school principal from England, from Rugby, and I'm also an honorary professor of practice at the University College London's Centre for Educational Leadership. I'm very privileged to have the role at present of being president of the International Confederation of Principals, which brings together school leadership associations from across the world in order to support and learn from one another. We're very excited to be able to offer you this afternoon the opportunity to hear about how leaders from different parts of the globe are responding with creativity and vision to the challenges of our changing climate, but also of our changing world. And we're also delighted that as part of what we are doing, when we've heard from our three leaders, we will also have a response from my friend Sen Lee, who, as well as being an expert data scientist and sustainability advocate, is also an advisor to China's special envoy on climate change. So, without further ado, we're going to move on to hear from the first of our contributors in our session, and that is Leanne Ateen, who is president of the New Zealand Principals Federation. Leanne is going to be joining us remotely, so if I can switch over to Leanne, and hopefully Leanne is going to appear on the session, on the screen. We've got Gabrielle showing at the moment, and there's Leanne about to come onto the main part of our screen. So Leanne, over to you.
Kia ora koutou, educators and citizens of the world. Greetings from New Zealand, Aotearoa. My name is Leanne Ateen, and as Peter has said, I'm the president of the New Zealand Principals Federation, which represents all schools in New Zealand. Look, climate education is in Aotearoa New Zealand schools is an issue that holds immense significance, not just for our nation, but for the entire planet. Our students are increasingly aware of the impact of climate change. They see the alarming signs all around them, from the mounting ice shelves in the Antarctica to retreating South Island glaciers, from reoccurring flooding, even most recently, and to unprecedented summer droughts. The effects of climate change are undeniably present, and they demand our attention. Our geographical location makes us acutely aware of the warming climates. Given the past 5 decades, the west coast of the Antarctica Peninsula has warmed faster than any other place on Earth. This warming trend is expected to continue, with our temperatures projected to increase by 1 degree Celsius by 2040 and a staggering 3 degrees by 2090. We're also witnessing the alarming rise in sea levels, erosion of our coastlines, and the disappearance of our sand dunes. These challenges are not just looming threats, they are stark realities that we need to control. It is imperative that we equip our students with the knowledge and the tools they need to understand, address, and combat climate change, and do that effectively. While Aotearoa New Zealand has made strides in fostering environmental awareness in our schools, we currently lack a comprehensive climate education policy. Nevertheless, we have seen the emergence of some pockets of climate action in many schools involving thousands of our young people. For 2 decades, schools have led the action to become Enviro schools, where children are empowered to design and lead sustainability projects. These initiatives cultivate creative and adaptive problem-solving skills, essential for a generation confronting climate change head-on. Enviro schools actively involve students in ecological sustainable practices, from cultivating gardens and setting up worm farms, recycling water, and even building glass houses made out of bottles, recycled bottles. These endeavours are not only instilling the principles of sustainability, but also fostering a sense of responsibility towards our environment. Moreover, a significant majority of schools in New Zealand, 80% to be precise, have adopted a school-wide focus on protecting and caring for the environment. An additional 83% emphasise reducing waste, showcasing the growing commitment to environmental stewardship of our young people. I acknowledge the incredible passion of our youth who have taken to the streets recently to stage climate marches. These young activists are driving awareness about climate change with their communities. Now, let me just share with you a transformative educational initiative taking place in Aotearoa, New Zealand right now. One that connects our young generation with Te Ao Māori, a worldview of our First Nations people, one of cultural heritage and knowledge. It equips our students with the tools to tackle climate change by practicing the cultural observances of our Māori people. In classrooms across the country, our students are delving into Maramataka, the Māori lunar calendar, fostering a sense of kaitiaki, which means guardianship over the land, and igniting a spark of sustainable cultural knowledge and practices. This initiative is not just about integrating knowledge or ancestral knowledge, it's about cultivating a mindset of stewardship among our youth. The Maramataka guides our students in understanding the connection between their celestial rhythms and the environment, teaching them optimal times for gardening, planting, harvesting, and instilling Māori values and kaitiaki, which is the guardianship of the land. Matariki, which is a newly national holiday, public holiday in New Zealand, is the celebration of the Māori New Year, and it symbolises our commitment to nurturing a generation that values environmental stewardship. It is not merely a public holiday, though. It represents the need for our cultural preservation and sustainable practices that resonate globally. In Aotearoa, most of our young people can recite their pepeha, their genealogy, in a unique and authentic way from a Te Ao Māori worldview. They connect themselves with the ancestral homeland of their people through acknowledging the physical features of the land. So, for example, ko Orowhana te Maunga, ko Rangahiki te Awa, ko te Rarawa te Iwi, ko Ngāti Wairupe Rawa, ko Ngāti Kuri o ku Hapu te Uri o Hapa Kukuruia. So what I've just said was that my mountain is Orowhana, my river is Rangahiki, my people are Te Raroa people, Ngāti Kuri and Wairupe are my family, and Hapakuku is my ancestor. This is my GPS. It connects me with my land and with my people. So as part of our New Zealand curriculum, our young people can identify themselves in this way, whether they are tangata whenua, which means Indigenous people, or immigrants to New Zealand. There is a deliberate action to connect our young people to the land they belong to and thus understand the importance of being a kaitiaki or a guardian. The United Nations Convention on Climate Change in 1992 highlighted the imperative for all nations to engage in climate change mitigation, and education is an integral part of the solution, and our schools must prioritise climate change education. Our educational initiatives are sowing the seeds of responsibility and fostering a profound connection between our young people and the land they inhabit. According to the New Zealand Council for Educational Research, NZCER, who are there with you, teachers and students are already engaged in discussions and actions related to climate change. A substantial majority of our teachers report that their classes discuss changing lifestyles, reducing environmental impact, and learning about ecological and conservation issues. Most importantly, 77% of our students take direct action for the environment. This demonstrates the enthusiasm and commitment of our young generation in addressing climate change. But there is room for improvement. Principals have expressed the need for climate change education to be made a priority in all our schools across the globe. This could be achieved by embedding it across the curriculum, making it mandatory in our curriculum, and elevating subjects like science, technology, problem solving, and creativity to core status. Additionally, schools should receive funding for solar power, power usage monitoring, water usage, and free recycling bins. The Ministry should facilitate the implementation of environmental activities and elevate or allocate more funding for staff to participate in Department of Conservation and Environmental initiatives, and resourcing maramataka activities. Access to up-to-date teaching resources is also crucial. While addressing climate change is undeniably serious, some principals or school leaders emphasise the importance of avoiding negative doom and gloom messaging. Our children need to believe in a worthwhile future, and we must inspire them with hope and optimism. In 2019, our government took a step in the right direction here by allocating $5 million to sustainable initiatives in our schools, and that was welcomed. Look, in conclusion, the education of our young people in Aotearoa, New Zealand, is not solely about academic learning. It is about instilling values of kaitiakitanga, or guardianship, resilience, and sustainability. As we celebrate Matariki and witness the resurgence of maramataka activity, we acknowledge that our young minds are not just students. They are the future stewards of our planet. We all need to invest in the education that shapes the generation, capable of navigating the complexities of climate change with wisdom, responsibility, and a deep sense of connection to the earth. The ideas are there. The young are motivated, and now it's time for us to take action. Let us unite and provide our students with the knowledge, the tools, and the hope they need to address the pressing issues of climate change. I'd like to finish by sharing a well-known whakatauki or Māori saying, "Whatu ngaro ngaro te tangata, toi tū te whenua." This whakatauki speaks to the importance and impermanence of land. When people come and go, the land remains. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Over to you, Peter.
Leanne, that was fantastic, and thank you so much. One of the wonderful things is through the miracle of Microsoft Teams, we're able to join not just across the world, but across time zones. So, Leanne, bless her, I think it's midnight where you are at the moment, Leanne, is that right? Or a little bit past midnight. But it is so inspiring. Here we are, middle of the afternoon in Dubai, midnight in New Zealand, and yet this inspiring message and this inspiring vision that Leanne has been sharing with us, about Maori wisdom, that we all should see ourselves as guardians of the land, and that really powerful point that Leanne was sharing us towards the end, that we need to invest in young people, because by giving them knowledge, by giving them hope, they are going to take forward that vision of being the guardians of the land and the guardians of the future. Leanne, thank you for inspiring us at the start of our session. We so appreciate it. We're going to now move a little bit around the world and around the globe. It's midnight for Leanne. We're going to hear next from Gabrielle, for whom I think it's still morning in Argentina, Gabrielle, is that right?
Yes, that's right. It's 8:15 a.m. here.
So, Gabrielle, if I can just explain, is from linked to the English-speaking Scholastic Association of the River Plate in Argentina. He's also author of the AI, if I can say it properly, the AI-powered school. Gabriel has worked with my colleagues from around the world, helping us understand how AI can be used as a powerful tool in education and understanding. And Gabriel, I'm going to hand over to you now.
Thank you, Peter. Good afternoon to everybody in Dubai, and for those of you who are joining us in the rest of the world through YouTube. When we were thinking of how to structure this this presentation, we wanted to cover multiple aspects. So my part of the presentation has to do with how we can use some of the latest AI tools in order to spur environmental education and confront some of the difficulties that we've always faced in terms of advancing the agenda of environmental education in K-12 education. So I'm going to try to share my screen now. Hopefully this should work. There we go. Yes, so there we go. Hopefully you should be seeing my screen. If not, you should let me know. So what I've done is I've pre-prepared some educational activities using ChatGPT. As many of you, I'm sure, are aware, ChatGPT and the myriad of generative AI applications are really revolutionizing the way we learn in schools. And some of the applications of these new applications are truly breathtaking and have come into what I've tried to exemplify is how we can make good use of these tools to solve some of the issues we've had with environmental education. It has been always very difficult to go beyond activism and the motivation and the inspiration to change the world and to advocate for climate change and to generate greater awareness about the need to protect the environment when it comes to creating classroom materials and lesson plans and activities for K-12. So this is what I've done. I'm going to show you some of these so we can see how this can be truly breathtaking in terms of the implications. I've uploaded a file, the one that you see there that says date October, is a file from a location in England that contains temperatures, wind direction, etc. So I've uploaded it to ChatGPT, and it says you've uploaded a file, etc. And then I said, I want you to calculate the average temperature. It went back and forth as it usually does. And here it is. It's telling me that the average temperature based on that data, real life data, is 12.36 degrees Celsius. So then I said, create a graph. And it did that. It created a graph for the month of October in this case, with the maximum and minimum temperatures, as you can see there. And I asked it, how would you describe the climate in this location? So it did a very interesting analysis of the climate in that location, finally concluding that the temperatures in this location of Tamworth in the UK appear to be typical of a temperate region experiencing autumn. Now let's switch on to another interesting application. I uploaded a radar image that is not showing now, but it should be showing it. So it is a radar map of Canada, and I asked it to tell me where it will rain and why would it rain. So you can see there how it's becoming a kind of personalized instructor on how to detect what's going on in terms of the rain. Unfortunately, we can't see the image, but hopefully we'll be able to see the others. Let's see. There we go. Then I downloaded weather data for the whole year, the whole range of 2 years for 2022 and 2023 for the city of San Francisco, as you can see there. So this is the data that the system could analyze in the file that I uploaded to ChatGPT. As you can see, these are all the variables there. And I said, I want you to graph the average temperature, the maximum and the minimum temperature by month for 2022 and 2023, which it did in this graph, which is a little confusing, not easy to read. So I said differences for those values of each month between 2022 and 2023. It came back and forth. Again, not very easy to read. So I asked it 3 separate bar graphs for 2022 and 2023. So you can see there how the system created a bar graph with the differences between the maximum and minimum temperatures for 2022 and 2023. As well as the average temperature difference. So this is very interesting to analyze, in this case, year-by-year variation. But of course, we can do it with a larger data set that is available on the internet. And then asked it to compare 2023 to 2022 weather-wise and how this might be related to climate change. So it gave me here quite an interesting tutorial on how to do that. And again, this is the kind of thing that is very difficult, that was very difficult to generate before we had these generative AI applications. It can be an excellent assistant to analyze data. Let me now show you another one. Okay, here it is. So I've uploaded, again, a file that I took out from the internet from a severe weather incident in Chicago at some point. So I said, teach me how to interpret this image. This, again, thinking in terms of how students would utilize these tools. So it tells me there the weather radar, the color scales, what each of the colors represent, geographical areas, etc. The map also shows state lines and borders. And I've said, you know, this is a simulated exercise. Give me a specific reference for how to interpret this image. So simulated weather radar map, dark green to orange, there it is, area coverage, location and timings. So it tells me here how to interpret the data, the map better said, and how in certain areas they are under severe weather warnings. And it even hypothesized that this is a scenario of a strong cold front colliding with warm moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. And then I said, this is the kind of thing that was impossible to do. Create a practice exercise for high school students to interpret a similar simulated image, and please simulate the image. So it did create a very complex image there of simulated radar data. And then I said, create the exercise itself, analyze the provided simulated weather radar map, materials needed, using the color scale, expected outcomes. And I can say, for example, create a rubric to assess student performance, and it should do it without a problem. I'm sorry for the typos. I'm prioritizing speed over typing accuracy. So there it is. So again, the message is these tools appropriately used can help us immensely in creating engaging classroom materials and activities for our objective, which is to, again, increase the level of awareness of our students as to the need to interpret climate change and generate a greater awareness about the need to protect the environment. This is another interesting one that I worked in. I took a photo. I included a photograph of Chapultepec Park in the middle of Mexico City. So it recognized it. Yes, correct. So I said, I'm a high school teacher and I want to teach my students about the potential effects of global warming. Can you please change this photograph to show the potential effects of a 5-degree increase in global temperature? And this is what it came up with. Of course, it's not perfect, but it's very, it's a great illustration of how the devastating potential effects of climate change and global warming. So this is how Chapultepec Park would look like if there was a 5-degree increase in temperature. And of course, this is a great prompt for an exercise on climate change. And then I said, show how the park may have been 3,000 years ago without human intervention. Make the images similar to the original one as possible. Make sure the species are visible and there are no traces of human civilization. So again, not perfect, but very good in terms of the difference between the species that are there and again, the current image and the image of the park if there was a 5-degree increase in temperature. And then I did this one. I asked it to, one of the great things about ChatGPT and these applications is that they allow you to chat interactively with historical characters or people or hypothetical characters from the future. So this is I am going to engage in a conversation with a person from the future. 50 years from now, they could live in a city that is currently known, transform by climate change, etc. So now I can chat with him. In this case, him, it chose to be Alex. So I'm going to say, Alex, tell me about a day in your life. So I'm chatting with a person in the future, 50 years from now, when global temperatures have increased by 5 degrees. So again, it's look at all the data, all the information it's including there. Mornings are cooler, best time to be active, advanced insulation, passive cooling, breakfast, locally sourced food, etc. I head to work using public transport. The heat starts to intensify, etc. So I'm going to ask him now, can you do sports outdoors or is it too hot? Again, apologies for any typos that I may incur in. And again, I won't dwell on this too much. It's just an example of how with adequate data, you could create a fictional scenario where your students are chatting with a future where all of this happens, and to alert them as to the potential disastrous consequences of global change. Then I worked on, again, so I said, I want to build a 2-person house off the grid in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. It came back and forth saying, this is what you have to take into account. So basically the problem that I laid out before ChatGPT was create a fully bioregenerative, zero carbon footprint house for 2 people in Boulder, Colorado, location in the outskirts of Boulder. So it tells me how to do that, local flora and fauna, etc. Provide me with a floor plan of the house for 2 people. This is a conceptual floor plan. Look at what it says, living areas, bedrooms, etc. I want to have a greenhouse, and so on and so forth. And then I said, create an image of the floor plan, which of course I can download. And this was created entirely from scratch by ChatGPT. So now design the solar energy system for determining energy needs for 2 people. So here it is. It's guiding me through how to calculate the energy needs for 2 people who would live there. I asked it to create a table with, again, real life data. Design the solar system with calculations. So here it is. Solar panel output needed. It even takes into account the insolation and the number of hours, the average number of hours of sunlight per day, number of panels needed, etc. Then I said, again, I'm doing this quickly so as to cover as much ground as possible. I designed a food production system based on needs of both occupants. I said that they were vegans. That makes it easier. So again, it tells me how to do that. Then I said specifically the orchard that we will need, including what to plant. So there it is. And then I asked it to create a waste recycling system. Again, types of waste generated. Once more, I won't dwell on this. Average daily waste per person in the US, waste reduction factor, total yearly waste for the household, waste segregation system, organic waste. So it did design the whole thing. More specific, here it is. And finally, I asked it to create a diagram that summarizes all the systems based on the house that it created, which again is quite fantastic. And then I said, I want a systems diagram. So it even got into greater detail about this bioregenerative system. Finally, I also asked it to simulate, hold on, this is taking a bit of time to load. There it is. So then I said, again, another difficult thing for teachers to do. I'm a high school teacher. I want students to learn about climate change. Create simulated statistical data for climate variables that students can analyze, detect trends for simulated location over the span of 50 years, and how to analyze key variables. So it did create an Excel spreadsheet that I downloaded, 50 years. It simulated data about average temperature, total annual precipitation, and annual CO2 levels. So here it is. And then if we had time, I could show you this. And then I said, create an exercise appropriate for year 11 students to analyze this data and draw conclusions. So there it is. It designed an exercise. And I said, well, I want more detailed instructions for each part. And again, we can zero in on any of these and ask ChatGPT. I asked it there to create a rubric, but I can ask it to go on at any level of detail possible. Peter, do you want me to go on for 3 or 4 more minutes, or do we
I think we're probably there, Gabriel, if that's okay, although we may come back a little bit later on. But
okay,
I think, again, talk about inspiration. We've had inspiration from 2 different parts of the world. Leanne talked about the need to provide both knowledge and hope to young people. And what Gabrielle has just been sharing gives us, I think, a really powerful illustration of the way we can use the latest technology, working particularly through ChatGPT, to enable young people to explore what climate change means. A group of us were talking earlier and saying, what you don't want to do is just throw a whole load of negatives out there. We want to make sure that they're able to engage with understanding, but also to see positive solutions, what to do, how to respond, what the different scenarios for the future might be, so that we are giving them ownership of their future in the way that Gabrielle has very powerfully demonstrated to us, in the way that Leanne set the tone for us. So, Gabrielle, thank you so much. We've had one speaker from New Zealand for whom it was past midnight. Gabriel, where I think it's morning still in Argentina. So our third online speaker, where have it got to be? It's got to be in the afternoon, hasn't it? And we're going to hear now from my colleague, Welcome Malanga, who, as well as being president of the Eswatini Principles, is president of the African Confederation of Principles. I'm hoping that Welcome has managed to get online. He's traveling from a meeting in Lesotho of the heads of the different African Principles Association, and he's aiming to get to the airport in Johannesburg so he could share his presentation with us. So let's see. Welcome, there you are. It is great to see you. It's a big relief to see you. Always good to see you. And can we hand over to you?
Thank you very much, Peter, and good day to fellow panelists and those in attendance in our meeting, Peter. I am indeed in Johannesburg now. You will forgive me if there is any disturbance. I hope you are getting me, Peter.
It's a little bit so-so the sound, so anything you do to make it a bit clearer would be great.
I'm sorry about that, but let me proceed in the interest of time, Peter.
Okay.
I will start by saying I'm very much honored to share the stage with global leaders like yourselves and others who are in attendance in this session. And to say, Peter, indeed, Africa is facing the challenge of climate change, and there is evidence to that effect. We are seeing excessive rise in temperatures, heat waves, drought, destructive rainfall patterns, to mention a few. And to start with, Peter, and all in attendance, one should mention that it is important to highlight that Africa is the youngest continent in the world, meaning it has the youngest population worldwide. As such, it is important that whatever we do, including this issue of climate change that we are discussing, we put the young people at the forefront. Because whatever impact this climate change has in Africa and the world at large, the most affected people are the young people, and the majority of them being in the young continent of Africa. Our question, Peter, is what are we doing as school leaders to try and mitigate or find solutions that are innovative to this challenge that we are all facing globally? I can start by saying, as school leaders in Africa, we plead with the international community to support our young people in the region, especially when it comes to artificial intelligence tools, because they are lacking that, but we see that they are capable of using such tools if at their disposal. So that is the first call that one would want to make on behalf of our young people, most of them being in school and under our care as school leaders. At the level of the African Confederation of Principals, Peter, we are saying the issue of climate change must be integral to everything that we do. We started by including it in our strategic plan, and it is one of the 5 pillars that we are focusing on. To say, in every conference that we have, in every capacity building initiative that we have, the issue of climate change must be central, must be integral in all those activities, or kind of mainstreaming climate change in all our activities as the African Confederation of Principals. I want to urge Peter to say, given that human-induced climate change is primarily driven by fossil fuels and greenhouse gas emissions, the main imperative regarding climate action is to drastically downscale and ultimately eliminate these emissions. So in our context in Africa, you find that we are still relying on firewood, that is traditional ways of cooking, so it depends on firewood. But we are saying in our schools, in our feeding program, let us not use firewood because we are destroying the forest that we need as a carbon sink. We know that forests play a very important role in absorption of this carbon that we are so much concerned about, which causes the challenge that we are facing today. Instead of using firewood, which is a traditional method, we are saying let us move to LPG, yes, which is much better and much safer as an option. Also, as school leaders, we have forged partnerships with government and non-governmental organizations to start projects of planting trees in and around our schools so that there is greening of our environment. And again, this serves the purpose of absorbing this carbon dioxide and other emissions that contribute to the disturbance or destabilization of our atmosphere. So that we are doing, and we have created environmental clubs in our schools, young people that are in charge of awareness and programs that aim to actually sensitize their colleagues or peers, that aim to make sure that the school environment, small scale as it is playing a role in mitigating the effects of climate change. The third issue, Peter, that I want to raise is that of education or awareness. We are saying climate change education has emerged as a fundamental solution to cultivate awareness about responding to climate change. This refers to a process that is aimed at improving the degree to which an education system is aware of, prepared for, and responsive to the challenges of climate change as we discuss it today. As school leaders in Africa, we advocate for issues of climate change to be integrated in national curricula to cultivate awareness about the causes, the effects, and probably mitigation measures for climate change. And more than that, Peter, we are saying our young people must be able to adapt because we cannot deal with this challenge in one day. But while it is there, how do they adapt? Because this world is for them and we are going to leave them here. So they are today and the future of our world. So education encourages people to change their attitude, to change their behaviors, and enables them to be part of the solution, while also empowering them to make informed decisions. This kind of education that we're promoting in the classroom will help our young people to understand the impact of global warming and learn, as I've already said, how to adapt to it, while also motivating them to provide relevant solutions. As I near the end of my presentation, I do want to mention that the schools have also partnered with the private sector and governmental organizations to do more, like issues of recycling at the school level, at the source where waste or litter is produced. We are saying let us reuse, let us recycle the waste. If it is paper, let us recycle the paper at the school level so that it is usable. We use some of this to make teaching aids at school. It is not even taken anywhere, but it is used here. What has been waste is turned into a useful resource in the classroom. In that way, we're protecting the soil, which could have been polluted by the paper, the plastic. Some of these materials are not biodegradable. So it is important that we deal with that at the school level. And we have seen a partnership between schools and the private sector in that regard. In my conclusion, Peter, in the interest of time, may I submit that addressing climate change should be a collaborative effort, and young people must be at the forefront, must be at the center, not only in addressing climate change, but in dealing with all the challenges that we face in our world today. With this submission, Peter, please allow me to end here. Thank you very much for listening.
Welcome. Thank you so much. And again, the passion of Welcome coming through there is so powerful. And we're so grateful to him for joining us literally from an airport departure lounge so that he can pass those key messages on. And I was really inspired by what Welcome said when he talked about education, because the world is for them. The world is for young people. So we need to put, as African leaders have done, climate education at the forefront and at the center of what's happening. They are now pushing it to the center of all they were doing, as he said, and it plays a prominent role in their planning. They're pushing it for it to play a prominent role in the curriculum that schools are following. And also, great to hear from Welcome about some really practical steps that have been taken in schools in Africa, such as changing the fuel that is used to prepare meals in schools from open wood-burning fires to the use of more environmentally friendly and sustainable fuels such as LPG. Welcome, thank you so much. 3 powerful contributions from my colleagues around the world, and we're going to have now a 4th powerful contribution. Sen and I were just comparing notes earlier before the session. I was saying to her, as someone who knows England and China very well, that China has a very close place in my heart because I was elected as president of the International Confederation of Principals at our convention in Shanghai a few years ago. And it's great to have the opportunity to hear a response from Sen about what we've heard and also what she would like to share with us as someone who is an advocate for the climate and has considerable expertise. So Sen, can I hand over to you now?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. So it's been a huge pleasure here to listening to. Okay, so okay, better? Okay, yeah. So principals from everywhere across the globe, as well as President Kent here in front of us, to introducing the educator's role regarding climate and the future generation. So as educators, we shoulder a responsibility not only to cultivate academic growth, but also to address global challenges. Today, we'll explore 5 crucial aspects: understanding climate change challenges, supporting mental health, nurturing students through love, instilling hope for a better world, and embracing AI and as a transformative tool. So to begin with, embracing AI, because the author of the AI for Education has just mentioned a lot regarding ChatGPT. In a dynamic landscape of education, embracing AI is imperative. For instance, ChatGPT is a smart tool for everyone, not just students and teachers, but everyone, as a smart tool to gather information and generate things for what they want. And other AI algorithms can analyze students' learning patterns, providing tailored content to individual needs. Adaptive learning platforms like Khan Academy use AI to assess students' progress, tailor lessons, ensuring a personalized educational experience, which greatly helped us to improve efficiency and accuracy. Regarding climate change education, I think integrating environmental awareness into education is vital. For instance, curriculum can include case studies on climate change impacts, fostering a deeper understanding. Schools can implement energy efficient practices, just like what have been done in Africa schools, demonstrating sustainable solutions to students. Education as a tool, we can making the climate change awareness more prevalent to students. We can also use virtual reality experiences to immerse students in the consequences of environmental degradation, just like what we have looked about ChatGPT, who can generate pictures about 100 years later, what the Earth would look like after increase in 5 Celsius degree. Moving on to teachers, I think the role of teachers in environmental responsibility plays a pivotal role in instilling environmental responsibility for our next generation. Initiatives can be launched like school gardens or waste reduction program can provide hands-on experiences. Educators can also collaborate with local environmental organizations, bringing in experts to the classroom and showcasing real-world solutions. Despite the fact that there is an urgency of climate, but I also want to mention that providing a hope for future generations is vital, because we don't want to scare them too much. Inspiring hope involves showcasing success stories. Students can explore how their contribution can help to stop the changing in climate, as well as other pressing issues. For example, the Ocean Cleanup initiative, witnessing how innovative ideas are making a positive impact. Project-based learning, where students develop solutions to environmental challenges, could give them a sense of agency and hope for a better future. The last point, and also I think is the most important point, as what I see, is we want to have holistic student development, addressing their mental health issues. A holistic approach involves promoting mindfulness practices. For example, integrating short meditation breaks into daily routine can help students' mental well-being, because a lot of students I came across, they suffer from depression or overwhelmed by the curriculum or family issues, or the politics around the world, human rights issues in some countries. Helping them to have a peaceful mind, like a daily routine, could greatly help them to improve their academic and mental health issues. Also, collaborating with mental health professionals for workshops can create a supportive environment, fostering emotional resilience. So, all in all, our role as educators, I think, extends beyond academics, nurturing students through love, integrating climate change education, fostering environmental responsibility, embracing AI for personalized learning, and instilling a hope for a better world is crucial. And these efforts collectively prepare the next generation for a promising future, filled with knowledge, empathy, and a commitment for positive global change. Thank you so much. Thank you.
100%. Thank you so much. What a fantastic summary of all that we've been talking about this afternoon. And the words that I'm hearing coming through from my 4 excellent colleagues who've been speaking to us are, yes, passing on knowledge, but also nurturing and also bringing hope, so that we're preparing that next generation. And so that we're not just talking in a void, but we are really making a difference for the future through the way that we prepare them. I know that time is moving on and that time is limited. I've got a few questions to put to the panel, but I thought I would just check, first of all, whether there is anyone who's been with us from the floor, as it were, who wants to ask a question. If not, I'll just dive in and ask the ones that I prepared earlier. But I'm not seeing a flood of hands here, so in that case, I will. Leanne, can I come back to you first of all? And you've already given us a lot of indications. I'm just wondering, can you give us one key reason why you think it's so important that school leaders and schools play such an important role in climate education?
We've heard just exactly what state our world is in. And all of the small changes or acknowledgements of today are going to need to be solved in the future. And so our young people have a huge part to play. And we need to equip them with the attitudes, first of all, for them to be able to acknowledge that these problems are going to become greater and bigger and are going to make we don't know what 100 years on from, we're predicting what's happening, but they'll be facing it. So it's really important that we as educators, first of all, make them aware of it. Absolutely talk about hope and what sort of world we want them to live in, and give them those skills such as problem solving, creativity, innovation, all of those things that they need to be able to solve those problems in the future.
Yeah, that's so true. But we're giving them skills, but we're also giving them a vision of what the future can be like. Because for us, it's in the distance, and as you've reminded us, Leanne, it actually is going to be their world. And that's why all of us who work with young people and work with those who teach young people have such an important part to play. Gabrielle, can I come back to you as well? You've shared those really powerful, really exciting tools with us earlier. If you had to sum up how you think these tools should be used, what would you say about them? What's the dominant thing that you think comes out from making use of these AI-based tools in climate education?
That's a great question, Peter. I guess, again, as I try to emphasize during the presentation, the ability to generate classroom materials that are engaging, rigorous, that contain simulated data, that can make projections, that can inspire students as to the need to focus more on the environment. For example, if you have a weather station in your school, these systems can process long-term data from the weather station in your school. So I'd say the most significant application of these systems would be to provide students with, again, the tools, the motivation to analyze real-world data, interact with, again, climate data from all over the world, make projections, simulated scenarios. It's bringing to life a whole range of possibilities that are until now impossible for teachers to conjure up.
Thank you. Bringing to life a whole range of possibilities. So again, we're getting this common theme being woven through what is being said, and helping young people to anticipate what the future might be like so that they can shape it as they want it to be. Welcome, if we're still able to connect with you, because I know you've got connection challenges. I just wanted to ask you, what would be the dominant message that you think would come to us from leaders in Africa? I'll just pause whether Welcome is still able to connect with us or not. Here we are, let's look in. Thanks, Welcome, over to you.
Hey, Peter. Yeah, I'm about to connect for my next trip. But in conclusion, Peter, I would say school leaders must be leaders, because everyone in the school is looking up to them. The leadership is the key aspect. Leaders must understand where the world is moving. Topical issues, they must follow that. Now the issue is climate change. The issues of innovation that are coming up and other changes taking place in the world. As school leaders, it is important to follow that so that we can provide proper guidance to our learners. Like we're talking about the issue of climate change, we are saying school leaders must understand, must be aware of what is happening, because you cannot lead your staff, you cannot lead the students if yourself are behind in terms of what is happening globally. So this is an opportunity for us to make sure that issues of climate change are part and parcel of what we do from school level to our associations and to our ministries of education. Let us provide the necessary advice to everyone involved in education of what needs to be done at this point in time to save our world. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome and safe flight. School leaders must be leaders of climate education. That powerful message there from Welcome. Sen, you gave us a fantastic summary of the issues that are facing us. And I think those points that you left us with have been picked up by my colleagues there. That we are saying that in all that is taking place in the COP, that actually schools and students and school leaders have a central role to play. Because the great thing about schools is they're always looking forward, they're always about the future. We want to play a central role in passing on the knowledge and the skills and the values that my 4 colleagues have talked about, where we pass on the tools to help young people face the future with confidence and with hope. And we look forward to continuing to work with everybody here in that process as we look together towards the future. Thanks ever so much for the opportunity to share with you this afternoon, and we hope to continue working with you in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.